Somebody asked me this incredibly powerful question, which was, how would you guide somebody to tune into and trust their intuition when they've been wronged by it in the past? When they trusted it in the past and it led them to a place of pain and suffering, how would you guide them to learn how to trust in it again and how to differentiate that inner wisdom from the voice of fear? And my answer to that is threefold. First step, forgiveness. Second step, acceptance. Third step, inquiry. And I'll explain. Forgiveness is the first step. And I can understand why it's extremely challenging and why you might not want to forgive a past mistake. Because if you can hold it over yourself, if you can continuously remind yourself that you made a mistake in the past, if you can hold on to shame and judgment and fear of getting it wrong again, then you can protect yourself in the future from making the same mistake again. It's a form of guarantee that you won't make that mistake again, and you're going to be protecting yourself from experiencing pain in the future. The problem with that is that it's very challenging to tune into your intuition and to trust your gut knowing if you're constantly going to be second guessing yourself. There is an aspect of opening up to self-trust required in order to tune into your intuition, in order to be able to receive inner knowing. And knowing that you might get it wrong is part of the learning process. If you're going to always be trying to protect yourself from making a mistake, then you're going to be unconsciously closing yourself off from your intuition. And there's going to be a process of trial and error with this, and being able to forgive your mistakes, being able to hold yourself with compassion and grace when you do get it wrong, will allow you to open yourself up to trusting more and to allowing the opportunity to make mistakes as you learn. The second part of this is acceptance. Accepting what happened, because you can't change it. And the reason why we don't like to accept, why we don't like to accept our circumstances, why we don't like to accept who we are, and why we have trouble accepting what has happened to us is, again, a form of protection. If I don't accept, if I fight back against my reality, then it gives me the illusion of control. I can prevent it from happening again. I can remind myself constantly that it was undeserving, that I shouldn't have gone through that, and I can hold on to my victim card, that I didn't deserve it, and it justifies how I feel inside, that I feel wronged, that I feel upset, ashamed. And when we choose to not be accepting of ourselves and to not be accepting of what happened to us, then it traps us inside of an energy where we're not going to allow ourselves to trust in our future, to be open to possibilities and to trusting our intuition inside of it, because we're going to want to make sure that we're not wronged again, that we don't make the same mistake again. And when it comes to building trust inside of your intuition, you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to get it wrong, and you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable if it happens. When you can accept what has happened to you, the mistakes that you've made, and what you've been through, and who you are as a byproduct of all that, then you can move forward from it from a more open place. And you can begin to create trust inside of you to know that if it should happen again, you're going to be okay. Knowing that you're going to be okay, regardless of what happens to you, opens you up to being able to trust in your intuition in the first place. And the third step is inquiry. Really beginning to explore, getting curious with, and questioning your ideas of what happened, how it all happened, and how much truth is really there, or if there's a different way that you can see it that might feel just as true and open you up to trusting more in yourself and in your intuition moving forward. For example, how do you know that the mistake you made didn't lead you to a better place as a result? How do you know that the mistake you made or what you misinterpreted was the worst case scenario and not necessarily a gift in disguise? How do you know that it was your intuition that led you there? What does it feel like when you have an intuitive insight? Was it really your intuition, or was it self-doubt? Was it the part of you that was fearing something? Was it the part of you that was protecting yourself from something? Or was it inner knowing? Really getting curious and exploring what actually happened, why it happened, and how you might be able to see it in a different way that can allow you to move forward more open to experiencing your intuition from a more trusting place. Ultimately, learning to tune into and trusting your intuition is going to require trial and error, because we are taught not to inherently trust in ourselves. We're taught to outsource all of that, to get validation from others, to get the opinions of others, and to use our successes and our failures as a parameter for how well we're doing. And your intuition doesn't work that way. It's not necessarily going to save you from pain or disappointment. It's going to lead you down a path that's ultimately going to open you up to what you deeply desire, which is more love, which is more appreciation for you, which is more connection to your own sense of self and to those around you. And maybe experiencing disappointment, experiencing pain is the doorway in for you. So ultimately, it comes down to trusting in your path to guide you where you ultimately want to go, and to continuously check in with yourself, inquire, get curious. Am I off path? How do I actually know that I'm off path? Is this really guiding me where I want to go? How does this feel for me? How can I reestablish myself on my path? How can I get myself closer to what I want? Is this getting me closer to what I want, or does it just feel like it is? And throughout the entire process, being more loving to you, more accepting of your process, and more forgiving of your perceived mistakes along the way is going to allow you to trust in it and open to it that much more.